Hello everyone, this is Cole speaking, coming back to Course in Miracle lessons and talks, commentaries, suggestions and simplifications, which I think is the key to the whole transformation. Is the simplest thing for a trained mind. For an untrained mind, it seems like a long journey. So, welcome everyone. Welcome to my corner that Barry's graciously lending me a little space here where I can talk myself out of this universe. Just kidding. We've covered up some introductory lessons, and today we're going to hit lesson 15 and hopefully make it all the way to 19, and we'll see how we flow. I'd like to thank you for your messages, for your connections, and for listening to that part of me that actually does not talk at all. And it's that part of us that is already united. I'm not very big on little posts on a Facebook, but I got this really lovely one that I saw, and that is Rumi said something very cool, and this is really the bottom line of everything that I am on about, and everything that Course in Miracle brought me to, and some other helps from our friends, invisible friends that are right here next to us, waiting for any support they can offer us to return to our universal mind. And it said this: not the ones speaking the same language, but the ones sharing the same feeling understand each other. And this is really the key in transformation, is that we need to retrain ourselves to be able to feel again. And I could be coming back to this over and over, because you might think, well, I feel. Yes, you do. But are your feelings completely free? Have they been forgiven yet? Because coming back to that forgiveness, at the end of the day, it's not what people do that trigger us into these sensations that we don't like in ourselves. Yeah, it's what it brings up in us, and that which is held within us will draw these people to trigger us, and then we will think we're forgiving them. It's never the case. Never the case. The case is always, how do I relate to the feeling that these people have brought up in me? And that's where the key and a secret to transformation is, and really nowhere else. Because when we finally stop attacking these feelings, stop attacking these emotions in us, they will be able to express themselves without hurting anybody, and we would create a new relationship with what is still us. We need to remember that we have two basic parts of us. Yeah, one is the thinking part of ourselves, and then we have the feeling part of ourselves. They are actually, if there were a circle, they equal circles. The capacity to think and the possibility of what we can load up upstairs is the same as the capacity to feel. There are equal partners, yeah. One we call the father, one we call the mother, yeah. The father we has already over-worshipped. The mother we have not found yet, in most cases. And I'll never forget the day when the mother finally spoke to me, because I heard from the father and I heard the voice, and it was all so profound that I thought, wow, this can't get any better. And then one day this mother voice spoke in me, and oh my God, it was like the end of it all. Because without mother, we actually don't birth the heart. The heart. It's just an idea in the mind. God, the love in the mind and in my mind. None of that. That's just a partial, it's almost like a separated spirituality in your mind. Yeah. The mind, whole mind, is the mind that has a full embrace of feeling and a feeling has a full embrace of thought. So they actually in a full alignment with each other. That creates that electromagnetic field, which we call unity. And obviously I'm reducing that experience into some images and names, but truly that's how the real heart will be born in us. So Course in Miracles is a wonderful training, mind training, that prepares you to this time where you can actually accept the will of God, which is the part of you that is feeling, and a feeling only. If you have a feeling and you have a word or label on top of that feeling, that's not a feeling, that's a thought. And usually thought, particularly ego mind thoughts, that will try to steal anything to do with feeling by talking about it. Used to go to men's groups where people were talking about their feelings. I was so bored, it was incredible. Until they said to myself, I'm just going to make a men's group where we're just going to share feelings without talking about them. And so in my men's group, we create a scenario of perfect safety, deep trust. And this can be done very quickly. And the moment these two elements are there, trust and safety, creates incredible presence. And in this presence, all feelings are ready to be shared. And that is the true communication. Yeah, so without feeling, we're talking. Right now I'm talking. But underneath all that, if you tune your receptive centers and begin to tune into that field that's way beyond or way below the spoken word, the part of you that only feels is already rejoicing because it's in the perfect communication with it. Even so, you might not even be aware of it. Yeah, and vice versa, me with you. And so it's all about training this mind so it can become present, so it doesn't get lost in thoughts. And the real magic of this all, and A Course in Miracles doesn't use the word magic, but I call it magic because comes when these feelings are finally free They begin to express themselves like they never have before. So Course in Miracles, there's a danger of taking these amazing concepts and begin to share the concepts of A Course in Miracles. That can be a deadly endeavor, because right there, some of your concepts might not really work with someone else's concepts, and now you're delaying that moment where you unite with your will of God in you, which is the feeling you, that ignites your heart and elevates the form. So that's true oneness, when feeling and a thought click together, electromagnetic, so they're like two magnets that become one. And that extreme magnetism that's between the two is the love we feel. It's the birth of the heart. And that is actual real oneness, right? That is the real oneness. Now there is a tendency to fill the mind with light, look up, and hope for some God that's outside of us, somewhere above in the sky. And you might have some light in there, but it's a loveless thing. It might look very bright, it might look very amazing, and when you really feel it, you will not feel that genuine, heart-melting love that's available when thought and a feeling unite, click into oneness, births the heart, and that will create this exquisite field around you, the aura of perfect alignment within yourself. When you're in that perfect alignment with yourself, you'll begin to see people differently, and you will begin to see the face of Christ in everyone, because who is whole? You are whole. And when you are whole, you will see everything as whole. If you're not, then you have many, many different options. But I remember around 1994, I think, or 5, one night I had this experience, and then I came into this huge room full of people, and all I could see was unity. I said, oh my God, everyone's awake. That must have been some kind of global something, and it's not. It's just my mind has united with his whole self. And so I saw everything as wholeness. Yeah. So let's jump into this beautiful, make this a bit bigger for myself. Lesson 15. So let's just jump back straight into this mind training that is necessary to prepare the altar, to prepare the thought processes that get restructured, and we actually stop doing some extra things that we actually don't need to do. And we enter into this place of no effort. There's a line in a course that says, I need do nothing. And it's said that way because you can't do this. Yeah. It's arriving on a place of complete effortlessness. Now, if your mind is trained, you will be able to remain in this place of effortlessness. And in that place, the God's creation is. There's no effort in there. There is no need for you to do anything. Actually, any doing is exactly what's in the way. And even so we are doing these lessons, they constantly train us in a systematic way not to do anything, not to engage in any effort whatsoever, just simply to watch and observe just for now, to see what we are doing in our mind that keeps us in the separation game rather than being in unity. So here we go. Lesson 15. My thoughts are images which I have made. My thoughts are images that I have made. I love this. It is because the thoughts you think appear as images that you do not recognize them as nothing. You think them, and so you think you see them. This is how your seeing was made. This is the function you have given your body's eyes. It is not seeing, it is image making. It takes the place of seeing, replacing vision with illusions. Now this word vision will be coming up a lot. I'd like to say that the vision's got nothing to do with imagining. It's more to do with seeing things correctly. It's like this part of us that's called right mind that sees everything truly. And we can exchange our imprinted mind for this mind that actually sees things correctly. So in that sense, we are forgiving what we made, and we're returning to that part of ourselves that was always there, ready to radiate and ready to ooze. It says that this introductory idea to the process of image making, which you call seeing, will not have much meaning for you. So he's saying, hey, relax, it's all gonna be fine. You will begin to understand it when you have a little edges of light around your familiar objects, which you see now. So suddenly, everything becomes more, in a way, liquid. Suddenly, nothing is separate. Because you think you see lots of forms out there, right? It's like, if I look in front of myself, I've got a typewriter, I've got a mouse and a computer and a phone and an iPad and all sorts of bits and pieces, a handkerchief. And but they all one thing. They all form. Yeah, it's just one thing. We think we see lots of different things, or we actually see one form everywhere. Yeah, so there's one thought, one feeling, one heart, and one form that manifests how we see things. I'm gonna say something that hardcore Course in Miracles people will probably be appalled, but this is a very important aspect. What we need to realize that the body and the form is very important to us. Yeah, without that, we're not going to be able to recognize, well, whether we are in our right mind or not. So, when my thoughts get purified, which means I no longer think thoughts that I used to think. They simply vanish. They vanish because they have a ground. The feeling has returned and will abolish this old way of thinking, right? It's like I'm saying all these words. They're coming out of me, but I'm not thinking these words. They're just coming out of me. And I'm not thinking about this process at all. Like that part of me just does not exist. However, when the feeling body or the will of God returns, it will ignite another part of the mind that thinks differently. These are inspiring thoughts, these thoughts that are filled with that sense of wholeness, that truly see the face of Christ in everyone. And not even the face of Christ, but the heart of Christ. They see the actual resurrected self in everyone. And in that sense, I recognize myself as who I am. Yeah. So instead of nailing these images by judging them and crucifying them, yeah, it's all about stopping all that. Yeah. It's like you stop using attack thoughts. You stop using condemnations. Yeah. And when you stop condemning, you no longer need to forgive, because you need to condemn first before you can forgive. So suddenly there is nothing to forgive. But it's genuine. Not that you're triggered by somebody and you tell yourself, well, it's not real because that's not the will of God. In a way, it's true, but are you really free of that? Just the mere fact that you're seeing it, it's already demonstrating that it has not been forgiven, right? So forgiveness really is that you stop seeing the world you've seen before. So in that sense, that you begin to see light, is because everything becomes a one picture. See, when you're really looking out of your eyes, there's like a one shot, right? It seems like you're seeing lots of different things, but it's just one shot of a form you're projecting. So this light, it's not necessarily you will see it with these particular eyes that you have now. When they change, you will begin to see on inward, and you'll see it differently. Eventually realizing that the whole universe is in you, and that you can allow that universe to recreate itself. So it's in a constant state of creation. It's a very inward experience. So the meaningful is within. And it actually says, when you start seeing these little edges of light around familiar subjects, it also says that your vision, your real vision, will come quickly when this has occurred. So it's a part of the training and part of the completing this workbook, that it really is it could be called salvation, because it saves us from ourselves. We stop projecting the world we see, and instead of these constant thoughts and ideas, it comes a silence. And then something, for me, the experience is more like my belly, that area that appears like my belly area. Particularly recently, that feels like the center of my being, and that's where actually the heart feels like it is. And this obviously goes against all sorts of ideas where the heart is. But my experience of heart has changed a few times ever since the heart has been born, because it's a brand new thing. We have ideas about heart from what people told us or what we read, rather than from an experience of the birth of heart. We're just basically preoccupied with something that's not even there. And then it says you'll have plenty of these light episodes as you're doing this workbook. Some of these lessons will ignite the light in you. Some of them will seem like bunch of words. Don't worry about it, because sometimes a lesson will make no sense whatsoever, which is important. But it is a prep. It's preparing you for something that's coming, maybe in the next few lessons, or maybe later on. Yeah, so it trains your mind in another way of seeing everything. Once we begin to see with vision, which is much bigger seeing mechanism than our eyes, we become see truly. And even then, there's a period of getting used to even live the way it is now. So for now, basically it gives you this practice saying, hey, whatever you look at, look around without any effort. Whatever you see, you look at this phone, is an image which I have made. That tree is an image that I have made. That sky is an image that I have made. And then you will begin to quickly see that you made this whole world up. Yeah? And if you made this world in separation, then this world will not be real. However, when you become one with yourself, you begin to see even this world very differently. That's what Jesus calls a happy dream. Right? And even that's just a phase. And so that's lesson 15 in a nutshell. And then comes 16. It says, I have no neutral thoughts. And this is a very important lesson, because it shows us that all thoughts have power. And we don't have thoughts that are neutral. One creates and one divides. So depends if we are coming from this place of I want healing, or come from this place, hey, I want to be a spiritual smartass or something. Yeah. The idea for today is a beginning step in dispelling the belief that your thoughts have no effect. Everything you see is the result of your thoughts. There is no exception to this fact. Thoughts are not big or little, powerful or weak. They are merely true or false. Those which are true create their own likeness. Those which are false make theirs. So, that's why I like the Byron Katie's process, because she goes, well, is that true? Whatever your judgment is, she goes, is that true? Can you absolutely know it's true? And when you ask this question, is this absolutely, can you know absolutely it's true? Absolutely, we don't know anything. Right? The ego mind tries to convince us that more we program it, the more we know. But it's just not true. Yeah. So eventually you begin to doubt this whole structure of all these thoughts that were just programs. We got to realize that from childhood we've been programmed to think a certain way. Do it like this, do it like that, think this way, think like I do, because I give you the sentences. And if you know all these sentences, you'll be able to fit into this world, right? But that's not our true way of being. This is what happened. And somewhere, if we're upset, that's one of the biggest reasons we are upset. Because we've been programmed, by this loving creatures that took care of us when we were little, and they were programming us with whatever they were programmed with. And, you know, those programs have massive limitations to well-being unless your parents were in a state of constant well-being. Yeah, they were programming you from the time when you were fetus. You were getting mom's emotions that she was unable to express. No, that was your sustenance. So we are basically imprinted from childhood, even before we were born, with all sorts of energetic patterns. And here we are, trying to undo what, like I say, trying to undo what never was. Because there's a part of you that doesn't even know about this. There's a part of us that's just pure love. It's there right now in each and every one. And what the vision does, it makes us capable of seeing this in everyone. I call this observance, right? When you drop into that part of you that's pure light, and you're there, then you, even with your eyes closed, can think of someone else and relax enough, and that part of them will begin to reverberate, because it's there. We just haven't paid attention on it because we didn't give it much attention, because we're busy trying to understand their mind talking to us, or we were judging their behaviors. But this light is in everyone, right? My men's groups are based on this. People walk in, we go straight into this. Hey, let's just drop in into who we truly are. And if just one person manages, then the whole group follows. And when the whole group follows, it takes everyone into this place. And then we sit there like, it was just an exquisite last night. My men's group was just, we didn't really say that much, because all of it was just sharing in this profound, deep light. Like I said, you establish safety, establish trust, comes this new presence of who you are. And then we just need to step back and let this presence lead the way. And like I say, it's an effortless thing. And the art of doing absolutely nothing so that creation has a chance to express itself is the result of these profound materials. Yeah. So we have this idea that, you know, it doesn't matter what we think. No. Each thought is actually, well, it says in here, what gives rise to the perception of a whole world can hardly be called an idle thought. Every thought you have contributes to truth or to illusions. Either it extends the truth or it multiplies illusions, right? And how do you extend the truth is also very important. You can't extend just a thought. The thought has to have a feeling attached to it. And it's the actual feeling that it's faster than actual speed of light as well, right? But if you begin to truly release your feelings, they begin to come out of your body as an aura, as a feeling expression of your core. And the more you step back, the more you allow this feeling, whatever it is. It doesn't even have to be a good feeling, because hey, who made good feelings and bad feelings? It's all ego making. divided everything into these camps, and if you have one, it'll punish you, and if you have the other one, it will try to destroy it in some way. It's a nightmare. But when you drop into this feeling realm, it begins to extend. And that's how you extend the truth. Yeah. You have an idea, like a pure joy. It's a pure joy. And then that idea immediately begins to manifest as a feeling, as a brand new thing. Something that's never been there before. Now it's being born, right? And it's becoming a new feeling that ignites my heart. And now I can feel already my legs are vibrating in a speed of light of that expression. Yeah. And even so, they're all the same. They all have a slightly different texture and color, and suddenly you see colors like you've never seen before, and suddenly you have feelings that didn't know existed. And the more you then give these feelings, right? Because you can give things, and that's cool. But when you learn how to give the feeling, or even how to join in the same feeling as your neighbor, which is join. Every time two or more gather in my name, it becomes more and more. So it becomes a greater experience of your wholeness. So you either extend the truth or you multiply illusions. If they're just in the mind and in this thinking, it's just gonna be, well, it's this, and now it's this, and now it's this, and now it's that, and they become perceptions. He says, you can indeed multiply nothing, but you will not extend it by doing so. In addition to never being idle, salvation requires that you recognize that every thought you have brings either peace or war, either love or fear. So now, have a thought. What is it bringing? Is it love? If it's fear, right? It says a neutral result is impossible because a neutral thought is impossible. There is such a temptation to dismiss fear thoughts as unimportant, trivial, and not worth bothering about, that it is essential for you to recognize all of them as equally destructive, but equally unreal. Well, practice this idea in many forms before you really understand it. So the practice then is, this thought, you close your eyes and you just allow, just check what thoughts cross your mind. You go, this thought about whatever comes to you. It says it's not a neutral thought, right? Why? Because you have no neutral thoughts. This thought about COVID, is not a neutral thought, because I have no neutral thought. Is it extending the truth, or is it multiplying illusions, right? It's probably good to explain that this is, I somehow got this from something else, some other source, but the separation from God is really separation from ourselves. If we are split in two camps, we are creating duality. If you hate a feeling, you don't like certain feelings in you, particularly what we call not a nice feeling, we divide ourselves into two camps, right? The good and the bad. And now we have a war in ourselves because the good part's trying to get rid of the bad part. What we don't think about is that what if the bad part is the main one, and the one where we think is a good part is the actual baddie. And that is the actual awakening, or at least it was for me, because I realized, I thought I was the one who decides everything, and those feelings were the secondary field that I had to deal with. Eventually, I realized the kingdom of heaven is in these feelings, and that this mind was completely diluted, polluted, confused, and separated. Yeah. So separation from you is separation from God, because God created you like itself. The love created you like itself, right? So you're the same. But if you split yourself from you in any way, logical, or you say, but it's like you can't love this, or you just divided something, you made up a reality where you split yourself in two camps. Now you have duality. Now you look out and you project duality everywhere. Yeah. So when you find in all parts of yourself where you're separate, and you unwind yourself with yourself, your search for God will vanish, because you found it. You're the one. Like they say, you're the one you're looking for. But that is a revelation. The minute we still our mind enough, and I'm not talking about trying to medicate ourselves through some form of meditation where you don't really see what the thoughts do to you when you're not meditating. Yeah, where you need to undo the structure in a daily life, so your meditation can be 24/7. Your love is oozing 24/7. Not because you're now sitting in some, quiet place with a little stream of water passing by and some chimes in the backyard and gentle music wafting from a speaker, and if nothing interrupts you, you might go into this place where you go like, oh, I'm one with myself, and it's lovely. But then something interrupts you. That's what we're looking at. We're training our mind to be whole and complete wherever we go. God goes with me wherever I go. So here comes the mind training. Lesson 17, I see no neutral things. This idea is another step in the direction of identifying cause and effect as it really operates. You see no neutral things because you have no neutral thoughts. It is always the thought that comes first, despite the temptation to believe that it is really the other way around. This is not the way world thinks, but you must learn that this is the way you think. If it were not so, perception would have no cause and would itself be the cause of reality. In the view of its highly variable nature, it is hardly likely. So, you look around, I see no neutral things because I have no neutral thoughts. And the important application is, I do not see a neutral whatever you see, because my thoughts about whatever you see are not neutral. So I could just use it, very superficially here. I do not see a neutral computer because my thoughts about this computer are not neutral. And so on. And I have to stress again that these particular applications are the key. When he says, and now do this, That's very important to do as many times as the lesson says to do. As usual, it is essential to make no distinctions between what you believe to be animate or inanimate, pleasant or unpleasant. Regardless of what you may believe, you do not see anything which is really alive and really joyous. Right? So when you one yourself with all of yourself, that's when the real joy kicks in. And even that's gonna take a while to get actually used to, until it becomes a sustained expression of this joy. Like you walk around with this smile that you don't make up, it just comes on your face, and you're like happy for no good reason. You're just happy because that's your natural inheritance. Yeah, you're not happy because it's a nice day. You're just happy because you feel this completion within yourself, this environment. Yeah. So at that stage, you no longer practicing forgiving your brothers, because you simply don't draw the type of brothers that you would need to forgive, because it's forgiven in you, right? So if you reject a feeling in yourself, that feeling wants to be healed, and because it's magnetic, it will draw to itself a situation which you then call forgiveness situation, you know. And if you keep forgiving the effect, you're going to be practicing forgiveness until cows come home, and 40 years later you'll be still practicing forgiveness. How you know you have forgiven, that those opportunities to forgive become less and less until there is really nothing to forgive. You can convince yourself that there is nothing to forgive, but that it's not gonna work if your emotional body or your feeling body still have this, what you call positive or negative feelings. Eventually comes a point where there is, you can't name a feeling. It's just one big mama feeling. It's like when it comes, it puts a smile on your face, and you're content for no particular reason, eh? So here he says, you know, because you are unaware as yet of any thoughts which are true and therefore really happy. Yeah, because the thoughts that are true are not these thoughts that we have in our head. Thoughts that are true are inspired from this inner full alignment with the self, that there is no division whatsoever in you. 3 to 4 specific practice periods are recommended. No less than 3 are required for maximum benefit, even if you experience resistance. I love these lessons. They're so unbelievable. However, if you do, length of the practice period may be reduced to less than a minute. So what he's really saying all the time is like, chill your grill. My stepdaughter used to say, hey Cole, chill your grill. This is like relax and do these lessons in a manner of absolute effortlessness, yeah. Which effortlessly bring me to a lesson 18. I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my seeing. The idea for today is another step in learning that your thoughts, which give rise to what you see, are never neutral or unimportant. It also emphasizes the idea that minds are joined. which will be given increasingly stress later, right? Like that whole idea we are one. Well, we're not one and we're stuck in our thinking patterns. We're one. When you're one with yourself, in that you will recognize the oneness with everyone. But you gotta be first one with yourself. Just to say everything is one, it's a cool line. You can put in the fridge and it will be there like an interesting thing for your neighbors to see. But truly having the sense of complete oneness, not only with what we believe is in our immediate physical vicinity, but we begin to connect to everything in the whole universe, eventually in the whole cosmos. Yeah. So, as within, so without. And the further we can make out what's out there, and the fastest way to get there is feeling, way faster than a speed of light, because feeling is actually everywhere. Yeah, this whole shebang is a one big mama feeling, you know. And if you tap into it, you tap into everything, including, we can even reduce it to the living on a planet. If you really begin to feel, you will notice that deeper you go, you're actually in some way going downwards. And your arms are extension of your upper and heart area in the old way of expressing. But your legs are definitely way more connecting to the magnetic of the earth, which is an exquisite field. When you really, when the field begins to inform you of its true vibration, you'll not be able to sit around properly, because you will have like a turbo engine attached to your rear, and you will go, oh, what's this? And I like to use that metaphor. You know, the deeper you go in the water, the more pressure there is. So more of this connection you have to the magnitude of the earth, the more you tap into this exquisite, fastest internet that exists, that doesn't cost you anything except your whole perception, which is a relief. And then you will connect to everything that is, in a way that, I don't know if you've seen the movie Lucy, which is a bit of a crazy movie. I don't know why that Luc Besson has to put so much guns and bullets in, but in a way, you know, there's this woman who is trafficking drugs in her belly, and somebody kicks her, so this whole bag of drugs just releases. But what it does, it increases her capacity to feel. It reconnects electricity in a body that in most people is just dead. And so she began to ignite herself, right? And it's such a exquisite metaphor, because when you really watch it, if you can get through the first 15 minutes of the movie, which is just horrible and atrocious in some way, it comes to that place when she begins to ignite, and it is really like a metaphor to a transformation that we become through the feeling body. We reignite electricity in our fields that has been basically like blown fuses. So the fuses kick back in, and we suddenly feeling the channels in our cells that were not there before. And feeling does this, right? When we forgive feelings for what we thought they were, they begin to ignite into this will of God, and it bring us the gifts of unspeakable beauty, and not necessarily as a physical reality, but as experience, because no matter what you get in a physical reality, it makes you feel a certain way, and it's that feeling that brings you the joy, not necessarily the actual physical thing. And if we're not capable of expressing feelings to the max, we are not living wholeheartedly. We're living mostly in the head, and we're trying to create this reality and order our mind and our surroundings according to some kind of idea of happiness. But we'll never feel complete unless this will in us has returned to its full function. So comes lesson 18. I'm not alone in experiencing the effects of my seeing. Today's idea does not refer to what you see as much as how you see it. Therefore, the exercises for today will emphasize these aspects of your perception. 3 or 4 practice periods, which are recommended, should be done as follows. Selecting subjects for the application of the idea randomly. Look at each one long enough to say, I am not alone in experiencing the effects of how I see, let's say, this computer, right? Conclude the practice period by repeating the more general statement, I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my seeing. And to some extent it's because if I believe I see things a certain way, I believe everyone else is seeing these things in a certain way. And if I do that, I actually make it more believable to myself. And therefore, there'll be another 100 people who agrees that this is a computer. And now we have a reality, that has some kind of solidity. But the truth is that none of it is the world we see. It's nothing to do with reality. It's of our own making, and it does not exist. When we believe that something's a certain way, we project it out, and we believe everybody sees it the same, or at least similar. Or we create people who will disagree. Anyway, I'm just raving now. Coming back to lesson 19, I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts. The idea for today is obviously the reason why your seeing does not affect you alone. You will notice that at times the ideas related to thinking precede those relating to perceiving, while at the other times the order is reversed. The reason is that the order does not actually matter. Thinking and its results are really simultaneous. Cause and effect are never separate. So really, if you're truly functional, and you're back, your will is ignited, your erroneous thought patterns and structures vanish, and you become truly present, you will have an inspiring idea which will manifest immediately. Cause and effect are never separate. Why things take too long for us to manifest? Because we have an idea, and then before it's felt deeply enough so it becomes physical, usually it takes time because of the density that we've created around physicality. But this density is what has to be addressed at some point. And you will see as you release the judgments, patterns, structures, that you become less dense and you become more fluid and liquid, and the love will move you, and you will go with that love rather than with your mind telling you what to do. So you can have a thought and just notice how long does it take before that thought becomes a feeling. Okay? Use something as simple. When you use simple things, you go like feeling good. It's an idea. Now, what does it feel like to feel good? And now we're waiting for this feeling body to reach us with that answer. It already happened, but because of the density, we are actually not necessarily immediately feel that. And then let me tell you one thing, that if you practice just that one thing, just feeling good, and then allowing that feeling good to take you places that it can, you might find yourself feeling so good that you're not going to be able to bear it because of the density of the body. So this will of God is manifesting a reality that's heavenly in you. The density of the body will, again, there's a period of getting used to living and vibrating on a different frequency. And so if I ever do anything as a meditation or an expression of I don't just sit. It's like there's an idea, it manifests as a feeling, and now I step back and give creation to completely manifest that thought into it, the max. See, it's got nothing to do with the outer reality, whether this is going to show up or not. It's just already is. And it will, if I step back and am not using any effort, this will begin to fulfill its destiny. It will express itself like never before. And if it's like before, then the mind is preoccupied with past thoughts, and it begins to multiply illusions rather than extend the truth. Eventually, this becomes a sustained awareness of expression of the new. In that sense, that this will be the end of learning, because there is nothing to learn but everything to experience. And of course, Miracle says, seek only this experience. You want to learn from the new. You don't want to learn from the programs like the parents imprinted us with, the schools imprinted us with, the society, and then our own separate mind has taught us that we need to know this and this and this and that, and now we know it. And are we truly happy? Was that really fulfilling our destiny path? Or do we just have millions of ideas and feeling constant lack and not fulfillment? So I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts. This idea emphasizes the fact that the minds are joined. And I must bring in that word mind, because the mind is often translated as that part of us that thinks. The truth of that word is that's a part of us that thinks and feels together. That's truly the mind. When it's not capital, it's just our minds. when it's capital, it means that you are not only one with yourself, but you feel the one with the wholeness. So these lessons, I found them quite difficult at the beginning. This particularly from 16 to 19. But they, as we progress into returning to forever, they will become more meaningful, because you no longer have anything to hide, and so nothing is protected in us. So there is no defense, and when this defense is not there, we become extremely receptive to most minute little energies that are everywhere available, like a little golden bits of light that fulfill us along the way, during the day and the night. And so I'll bring this to an end, and the next talk will be about lesson 20, and hopefully I can, there's a cluster of those 20, 21, 23 and 24, just like particularly 20, 21, 22, 23, just absolutely incredible understanding of what our mind does in a place that we are not aware that exists. And that is the idea of attack thoughts. Yeah. So just tiny little preview, like if you attack something outside yourself, what you usually might not notice is that you actually attacked yourself first. And that in us is so deadened and so unseen. We actually don't see what caused the world we see. Yeah, we attacked ourselves, that gets projected, and now there is a person to be attacked. And we go like, ooh, that guy's annoying me, right? What we don't see that we've already nailed ourselves to cross, right? And so now we see this. So this identifying the cause is really something where we're truly going to need some help, particularly the help of what we call the Holy Spirit. Yeah. And so rather than judging what's in front of us, we got to ask, why am I really upset? Why is this really happening? And if your Holy Spirit is something that you connect to, this Holy Spirit is a part of us that is available. And again, unless that feeling body is a little bit more awake, it's a very difficult thing to connect to. For me, for a long time, Holy Spirit, that word, I had to do a lot of releasing on it before I could actually connect to the actual Holy Spirit. Because you can ask to some kind of idea in your mind of what you think a Holy Spirit is, and that's not necessary Holy Spirit. That's just again a projection of holiness out there somewhere. That's not necessarily coming to be the actual uniting principle. Yeah, it's the part of us, is that intent, like a deep, deep intent to heal, brings up this unifying field to us, which then we can call Holy Spirit, or an idea of wholeness that will help us to navigate back to our core. So some exciting lessons are before us. Thank you for your attention and opportunity to share, and we'll catch you in the next podcast. Thank you.